Hi, I'm Hannah Crowe. I'm a drama teacher and I live in Manchester. Mostly I think about things that I have to do and what I'm going to do next. Often I think about food and what I'm going to eat next. And usually I think about my family at some point after my dad because I worry about his health. So he pops into my mind quite a lot of the time. I think I find it quite soothing to think about what I'm doing. I worry about my dad, yes, but I think I like to think about what's going to happen next, and it's sort of all planned out in my head. I usually write things down and then I can picture them in my head and then they're there forever. If I don't write it down, then sometimes I forget things because I'm thinking about something else. I've become much more relaxed about things as I've got older. And I've realised which things are important to think about and worry about, perhaps more than other things. So I'd prioritise things like friends and family over work or other things like that. Probably when I was a teenager, and we all spent time thinking about what we looked like and whether we were friends with the right people and all of that sort of thing. Boys, predominantly boys, which doesn't really factor now. I find them quite easy to relate to, I think, but maybe because I can remember what it was like to be a teenager, but also because you can kind of see how each individual's mind works as you get to know them. And because I teach sixth form now, I know I spend like 5 hours a week with them. So I think you can kind of see the way that each of them ticks. I think they do get much more stressed than we did because of social media and that kind of stuff, and they're much more bothered about appearance and what other people think of them. Even though we were, I think they feel it more intensely because it's more, well, they can't really escape it because it's on their phones all the time. And yeah, it's quite a hard life, I think, being a teenager these days. So, other people's mindsets. Well, I think each person's individual, and I think it's quite interesting to speak to people, particularly people who have very different mindsets, so who spend their time focusing on things that perhaps I wouldn't. I find that quite interesting. But yeah, I think it's very personal to you, and it can change in a week or a month or a year. And for example, when I leave teaching, I know my mindset will change a lot, and I'll probably think a lot less about my to-do list and a lot more about other things. And I think that's true for everybody. I've come to live in the moment quite a lot. I quite like it, so I think a bit ahead, but I probably wouldn't think past next year. Because I think there's too much excitement going on to confine yourself to one thing. I think a mindset is the way that you think about the world and what happens around you, and I think it can link to positivity and openness, or obviously closed-mindedness and things. It surrounds, the way that you think about everything and everyone. Well, I like to think I'm open-minded. In that I quite like to look at other people and what they do and how they think, and without judgment. And I think that's part of the way I think about the world. That's quite important. I think I have quite a positive mindset, and that I do look for the positives in people and things and situations. And that's probably why I don't get so stressed and worried about things, because I kind of naturally go towards thinking the positive. When I was a child, I was very imaginative. I had imaginary friends. One was called Daxintup, and I lived under the stairs in a world of my own. It was wonderful. Then I became a teenager, and it was very angst-filled, hormone-filled, food or lack of food filled. And as a grown-up, I feel like I still have that bit in my mind of being imaginative and being in my own little world, but it's sort of pushed out by the to-do list of work, and it'd be quite interesting to see what would happen if I wasn't a teacher anymore and I could get that lovely imaginative, creative focus back. And even I live in Manchester, and even within Manchester you can go 3 minutes down the road, and I think the general feeling, and I think it's reflecting the mindset of the people, can be quite different. But I think everybody, the collective mindset has changed, and that people are focusing on things like social media and show and appearance perhaps more than would have happened before all of that existed. But yeah, it's quite an interesting idea, isn't it? And I think a lot depends on who you are, where you are, religion, family. There's so many factors that have an influence, and somehow we are all existing together. So my relationship with food has changed a lot over the years. When I was a child, I hated eating because I didn't like meat. So then I quit eating meat when I was 13. Then went into a little bit of a downward spiral of surviving on an apple and a Mars bar a day. But then I don't really know what happened. I feel like suddenly I realised it was a silly thing to be doing and it was fine. It was a very odd transition. But now I still think about food all the time, but usually because I'm hungry all the time, and I don't know if it's something in my brain is saying, eat, eat, you must remember to eat. Because when I was younger I didn't, I don't know. But it's interesting that it's still very prevalent in my mind all the time. So I felt like it was the way I could control everything that was going on around me. Whereas now maybe I feel more in control of what's going on around me. So I wonder if something happened and I felt like I was less in control, I'd have to be very aware, I think, that would probably be something I'd go to feel calmer. I think that's the thing, you would get into the routine of thinking, well, this will make it better. And I don't think you ever really know what you're trying to make better either. And I think you think it's all about food. I'll eat this and I'll eat that and I'll count how many calories it is and I'll work it out and then everything will be okay. When actually it's nothing to do with the food. The food is just a focus for your stress or your worrying or whatever it is that you're feeling at that time. And the hormones probably didn't help. Because being 13's hard for everybody. And I see it every day. Even when being 17's quite hard. Because there's so much sort of going on inside your body that you can't control. It can feel quite overwhelming, I think. The interesting thing about things like eating disorders, and in fact any of that mental health sort of the various conditions, is that you can't see it. So people perhaps don't understand that it's there, or they don't understand what it means, and because for each person it's so individual, and if that person is unable to articulate how they feel because of the condition that they feel they have or that they don't even know they have, I think that can make it quite a challenge for people to either help or for people to understand the sort of mindset of others. Know that somebody is suffering in some way, and whether it's just knowing that and then knowing to let them be, or to know that you're there, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's hard if when you're walking down the street you feel awful because no one can tell what is happening to you. It's very interesting. I'd love to spend a day in someone else's head because I think everything would be seen from a different perspective, and how crazy. And that we are all thinking different things right now in this room.